Welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin. I'm here with my co-host James Haskell. And this show, we're going to talk about a topic that's been swirling around a little bit here lately in regards to Michael Vick. We heard Lamar comment that he believes, in his opinion, that Michael Vick deserves to be an NFL Hall of Famer. And so we're here to give our opinion. I guess I'll let you start us off, James. Let us know what your immediate reaction is when people bring up Mike Vick getting into the Hall of Fame.
For me, before you dig into the stats, like you said, my immediate reaction is I think he belongs in the Hall because he is one of those players in the NFL that changed the game, changed the culture, and changed the whole identity at quarterback. I don't think without him, we have the Lamars and the Kyler Murrays and these guys that we're starting to see today. I think, Vick, and you could go before Vick to like Randall Cunningham and even some other guys and things, but Vick was really that true good passer, obviously a dynamic runner, that true dual threat guy. So I think because of that, and it's funny because they're from the same place, he reminds me in a lot of ways of Allen Iverson, the way that he helped evolve the league.
Yeah.
I think that alone, based on that and his abilities overall, I think he belongs in the Hall. Now, of course, we can dissect the stats and then talk about off the field stuff, but we're talking about strictly football. I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Now, Lamar said first ballot.
Yeah.
That might be a little bit, because that's his childhood idol. I don't know about first ballot. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Lamar saying that. I feel like he kind of has to say that out of respect for someone who's come before him, somebody he idolized growing up. And when we talk about the Hall, of course, we're talking about off-the-field stuff you can't consider because as voters of the Hall of Fame, they're not allowed to consider that. They're supposed to just talk about him as a football player. So that's what we're going to do today. And, we'll let everyone have their own opinions about what he did off the field, and that's certainly within their right to do so. But I agree with you. I think in a sense, I think the Iverson comparison is right because – Iverson showed that you can do it a different way. You can do it with a different body type. And he drug that ragtag group of players to the finals. And let's be honest, if you look at that team that Iverson did that with, they have no business of being in the finals. So, he had incredible talent. I mean, this guy was the best athlete, the fastest guy on the field every time he took the field, and he was the quarterback. Much like we have with Lamar in Baltimore. It's just kind of unfortunate because he had those years where he could have been compiling more numbers, more statistics to make a stronger case. But, of course, he had to go away from football for a few years to deal with the legal issues. And I just don't know if he compiled enough statistics when you stack him up. Because when you're doing Hall of Fame, it's the best of the best, the top of the top. So it's kind of hard because if you stack just his numbers up next to so many quarterbacks that are on the threshold of getting in, but that still aren't yet, and it just doesn't stack up. I mean, you look at his 56% completion percent for his career.
Yeah,
he had 133 touchdowns to 88 interceptions, which that's just not a ton when you look at his competitors. They put up a lot more numbers, so it's hard to make the case when you look statistically. Now, he does lead the NFL history in rushing yards as a quarterback, so he certainly has that notch under his belt. But I just think it's going to be hard. Certainly first ballot, I don't think there's any chance he gets in the first ballot. There's just no way. I mean, look at the numbers. But will he eventually get in? Man, it's going to be tough because I'm like you. He changed the game. He changed the perception of how you can play quarterback. So that has to count for something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that comes to my mind is you have those same arguments when you're talking about the overall stats because something, you have to credit longevity when you're talking about Hall of Fame, right? Like we had a quarterback in Joe Flacco that had a historic run that had never been seen before in the playoffs with 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Now, just because he'd never done that before in one playoff run, that doesn't punch his ticket to the Hall of Fame because, like you said, there has to be some longevity.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing with Vick that I also think about too, though, is like in the running back camp, you think of like Terrell Davis. He got in, he had some years, but it wasn't like he had this, like you said, you stack up his numbers against some other guys. they're not great because his peak was high, but it was short. So I think that as we start to see more quarterbacks like this, I think that it will increase his chances of getting in. I think ultimately he does, because I think guys will end up having this peak that's high, but maybe not a 20-year streak like Brady or Peyton, because the position is being played differently.
Yeah. No,
So
it's definitely different, but I mean, I don't know. I'm on the fence here. I mean, I agree that he changed the game, but the question of getting in the Hall of Fame, I just don't know if we can't. Maybe we'll just always look to Vick as a guy who changed the game, kind of revolutionized the quarterback position, but just didn't put it together for that sustained, consistent time period that you need to get in the league. I mean, you look at. Would you consider Matt Ryan a Hall of Famer?
no.
And Matt Ryan is an MVP and has 321 touchdown passes in his career. Mike Vick never was an MVP, I don't think, as far as I know, and he only had 133 touchdowns. So that's hundreds less than a guy, and we're not even talking about near the top with Breeze having over 500 touchdowns. It's 400 more than Vick, and I mean, of course, we're comparing him to the top of the top, but like that's why I brought up like a Matt Ryan. I mean, he doesn't even stack up to guys like Fran Tarkenton, Carson Palmer. If you look at Carson Palmer's statistically, it's not even that close. I mean, he played for 18 years. Mike Vick only played for 13. Of course, that was interrupted by the legal issues. But, I'll say this. He did get to 4 Pro Bowls. He was a one-time All-Pro performer. So he had a good career. I'm struggling to get it to where I can see him getting into the Hall of Fame, even though he did change the game.
Yeah. Now, the only thing I'll say to argue that is that based on the guys that you just mentioned that have really good stats, that have better stats than some guys that are in the Hall or were in their career. Matt Ryan obviously still is in his career than guys that are in the Hall. For example, Terry Bradshaw has 4 rings.
Yeah.
And he threw just as many touchdowns as he did interceptions, pretty much.
Yeah, they really it seems like they took the winning factor big time in the account of Bradshaw. But also Bradshaw played in a totally different time where they could maul you. Receivers had trouble getting down the field without, getting contacted the whole game. They could clothesline the quarterback. It's totally different. Vick really, although slightly different, pretty much played in the same era as a lot of the guys I was just mentioning as far as Matt Ryan, who was his successor in Atlanta. I don't know. I just feel like it was totally different with Terry. But look, I'm with you on Terry. I mean, he had Hall of Fame receivers, Hall of Fame defenses, and, he's thrown just as many picks as touchdowns. So they obviously put a lot of emphasis on the winning, and that's about all that got him in.
Well, I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, I think that because of the overall impact he had in the game, and I think for every player, statistics need to be weighed differently. It's all circumstantial, right? And I think that's the hard part about the Hall is that everything is based on that person's case to get in the Hall, if you will. Yeah. I think that Vick has enough to do it, just my opinion. I mean, he leads the league in a category that's been a it's not a new stat, like rushing yards for a quarterback. I mean, Lamar's going to break that.
Football was rushing the ball is like the basis of football. Yeah.
Right. I mean, Lamar, I'm sure, is going to break that. I mean, knock on wood, barring any injuries. But still, I think based on that alone, I mean, he was just an incredible player. So if it's up to me and I had a vote, I vote him in. But I totally get it. I mean, it's an exclusive group. But we want to know what you guys think. So, Glenn, I know that you're on the fence. Give us your final yes or no. Is he in? Is he out of the Glenn Martin Hall of Fame?
If he got in after a long, long wait and eventually got in, I wouldn't be shocked or upset. But if it was me giving my vote, I would vote no.
All right. Well, we're split, so you guys let us know who you agree with. I'm saying yes, and Glenn's saying no. Yep. Leave your comments in the section below. Let us know if Vick is a Hall of Famer. Now, Lamar said he's a first ballot. I'm just guessing that a lot of you guys disagree or agree with us and say that he's probably not a first ballot, but belongs in the Hall, is what I'm saying, and Glenn's saying no. So let us know. Make sure to subscribe and then also hit that notifications button because we're going to be more videos out as we prepare for the draft, and keep me up to date on Ravens news. Talk to you guys soon.
Yeah.